we had the banking stocks, as I was mentioning earlier, really standing in the spotlight yesterday. Let's start off with Intercontinental Bank here, because it's announced that it expects a significant improvement in its first half numbers. So many seem to be pretty optimistic about the way forward here. What kind of sentiment has the full year followed by those first quarter numbers actually triggered?
Well, I mean, the numbers came in positive, which was expected. It was just about 1.8 billion. People expect that the bank should continue to make substantial recovery, and that should impact positively. As you're aware, they are trying to repackage these rescued banks to make them attractive for foreign investors. AMCON, the asset management company of Nigeria, is a resolution mechanism that is going to be used. So I think a lot of the banks are very, very actively engaged in making recoveries. We're not very sure they're extending new facilities. So probably what they're trying to do is to maintain existing relationship with some key clients. Because as you might have expected, some of them are also losing market share to some of the healthier banks. But I think generally it's positive signs that, I mean, the banks are on the right path.
Well, a positive sign certainly, where we also had Unity Bank out with numbers returning to profit in the first half and posting a 30% increase in gross earnings for that 6-month period. What do you make of these banks' abilities to actually sustain this? Because many have been pretty skeptical about these quick turnarounds to profit that have actually come to the fore here.
Yes, I think generally that news was greeted with cautious optimism. The bank is in the middle of trying to raise additional capital. I think they're in process of embarking on the rights issue, so the price is actually frozen now. Also, the speed at which the numbers came out, because, you know, the quarter just recently ended, also suggests that probably they've been looking at their numbers and trying to ensure that, the market, sees good figures. The figure is good. It's unaudited, as most people are aware, and I think generally people are greeting it with cautious optimism.
Well, talking about raising capital, First Bank climbed 3.6% by the close of yesterday's session. That after it announced it's considering a secondary listing either here in South Africa or in London. What has the market made of those plans?
Well, I think the market here will generally not react to dual listing, whether it's in London or Joburg. I think that just increases the bank's access to investors in different climates. But generally, what the market is looking for is how quickly can you grow your earnings, because the market has been difficult. People or banks are not extending credit the way people expect them to, and especially that has an effect on the middle tier and small tier businesses. So there's been a lot of emphasis to see that, you know, banks are actually extending credit, because as you're aware, that is how banks actually make money, intermediation. So the ability of the banks, to extend credit and make reasonable net interest margin is the key. And what the market is looking for is that our banks in this environment be able to deliver, reasonable returns and to reward shareholders.
Well, it's not the only announcement that First Bank has been cited at. There's also speculation that we've got First Bank amongst 3 Nigerian banks actually looking to buy one of the rescued banks over in Nigeria. Do you see this as a viable move, and who would be a likely target for First Bank at this stage?
Well, I think they're keeping that very close to their chest, but I think everybody understands that, the environment, is positioned for a change, and depending on the moves you make, some of these rescued banks are actually attractive. They do have network, they do have some sort of degree of value to add. So depending on which bank you actually choose, and of course, as I said again, the asset management company must be involved in that process and removing some of the toxic assets from this bank. But generally, it's a game changer. And I think this year, next year, depending on who matches with who and the ability to integrate quickly might change the dynamics long term. I think First Bank is well positioned. They're a big bank. They know how to, run a big bank as well. So we think they would be able to capitalize on some of the middle tier players. And then merge with that. But in terms of names, I think it will be highly speculative at this point. But they've been doing due diligence with a couple of other banks on the banks that are up for sale.
Yep, well, we'll definitely have to wait and see what emerges on that front. Thanks so